Ladies and gentlemen, the gentleman whom we were waiting for, Mr. Shiv Nadar, has just entered the hall. Please give him a round of applause, please. Ladies and gentlemen, it's my pleasure and proud privilege to now hand over the proceedings into much more capable hands, and can I therefore request Vidya to please come and take over the proceedings, please. Thank you. Give a hand to Vidya also, please.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Vidya Amarnath, and I'll be your MC for the evening. Earlier today, my daughter, 12-year-old daughter, had a fascinating take on the most dreaded day of the week, Monday. She said, "Ma, in French, Monday, that is more means mine, so that makes Monday my day." Frankly, doesn't that sound a more promising way to start the week? But if you haven't managed to shoo away your Monday blues, look no further, because the next hour or so, you will be completely rejuvenated and raring to go. You are about to witness scintillating accounts of one man's vision in building a software giant and his unrelenting effort to make the world a better place. The Rotary Club of Madras and Julius Baer Wealth Advisors presents an evening with Shiv Nadar in conversation with Raju Venkatraman. I now request the President of Rotary Club of Madras, Rotarian R. Venkatramani, to formally welcome the gathering.
Good evening, everybody. Dear Mr. Shiv Nadar, Mr. Raju Venkatraman, esteemed captains of the corporate world, District Governor C.R. Raju, district officials, my dear fellow Rotarians, spouses, ladies and gentlemen. Firstly, let me thank you all from the bottom of my heart for gracing this occasion in large numbers, despite it being a Monday evening. My special thanks to Mr. Nadar, who has most graciously consented months in advance to this program. Here, I would like to express my deep gratitude to my friend, Prem, who made this possible. Thank you, Prem. Mr. Nadar, we are all eagerly awaiting to be enthralled by your success story and your vision for the future. I am indeed fortunate to be the president of this 87-year-old club on this momentous occasion. Along with pride, there is also immense responsibility to further the cause of this great club that stands as a beacon of hope and charity for the underprivileged. Our projects over the years have touched the lives of millions, and our vision is to further Rotary ideals of service above self into the next generation of Rotarians and society. Several of our successful projects like Polio Plus, Rotary Nagar, Boys Town has received national and international recognition. We are honored that several corporate entities like Ford, Kone have partnered with us in our noble endeavors. This year, we intend to save the most precious elixir and natural and non-renewable resource through our water conservation initiatives. With historians predicting that the next big war will be fought because of water scarcity, we at Rotary Club of Madras are certainly on the right track. Our aim is to educate young children and young adults in the necessity of water preservation as they are the future. A lot of effort in this direction has already begun. My theme this year, Love, Accept, Share, has drawn many celebrated speakers to our club, and this evening is truly the jewel of them all. I hope all of you have a truly enriching evening ahead. Thank you and welcome.
Thank you, President. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a grand old lady in our midst. She's an octogenarian. In fact, she's inching towards her 90s, yet she's known for her grace and effortlessly combining rich history and tradition into her persona. Her compassion has attributed to the betterment of many underprivileged lives as she continues to advance with young enthusiasm into the 21st century. Yes, you guessed it right, ladies and gentlemen, she is the Rotary Club of Madras. Over the years, Rotary Club of Madras has always taken up projects depending upon the need of the hour. Our Polio Plus, tsunami relief, and sanitation projects have been well received, and keeping this thought in mind, our current year's project is water conservation. The dire need to bridge the gap between uncontrolled usage and the very short supply of this natural resource has prompted us to create awareness amongst the generation next. Our interactor, Anirudh, has made his thought-provoking video on the need to wake up to this depleting resource. I would like that video to be played, and after that, we would have a short video on the efforts of Rotary Club of Madras and its projects. Please stand by.
Ladies and gentlemen, the gentleman whom we were waiting for, Mr. Shiv Nadar, has just entered the hall. Please give him a round of applause, please. Ladies and gentlemen, it's my pleasure and proud privilege to now hand over the proceedings into much more capable hands, and can I therefore request Vidya to please come and take over the proceedings, please. Thank you. Give a hand to Vidya also, please.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Vidya Amarnath, and I'll be your MC for the evening. Earlier today, my daughter, 12-year-old daughter, had a fascinating take on the most dreaded day of the week, Monday. She said, "Ma, in French, Monday, that is more means mine, so that makes Monday my day." Frankly, doesn't that sound a more promising way to start the week? But if you haven't managed to shoo away your Monday blues, look no further, because the next hour or so, you will be completely rejuvenated and raring to go. You are about to witness scintillating accounts of one man's vision in building a software giant and his unrelenting effort to make the
edition. Little did he realize that this club would grow in years to come to become a pioneer in the field of community service. That one of its small projects will grow and metamorphosize into an international project. A project so big that national governments, the Rotary International, and even Bill Gates Foundation will join. The project was to combat a crippling disease, polio. Yes, all of this came from a small idea, a seed that was sown right here in the Rotary Club of Madras. In association with Rotarian Ken Hobbs of Canada, 66,000 vials of measles vaccine was first brought into the country. The state government played an important part in associating with us. A model was developed which was worthy of being replicated across the country. Soon, measles was replaced by polio, and thus was born the Polio Plus, Polio Pulse vaccination. This campaign was so successful that for the only time in his career, even superstar Rajinikanth agreed to do a public service film for the Rotary Club of Madras and its polio immunization program. As we are on the threshold of totally eradicating polio from the world, the Rotary Club of Madras, to celebrate this monumental achievement, launched the Rotary Flame. The torch is now being carried across the globe and helps several clubs collect funds and spread awareness. Have we rested on our laurels? Not at all. Both before and after the Polio Plus project, we have continued to serve our community. Some of our permanent projects are Rotary Naga. We identified a low-income tenement not far from the famous Marina Beach. This project began the day India gained independence, the 15th of August, 1947. We conducted vocational training classes. We also conduct intensive coaching for students from class 1 to 12 every evening. This extra tuition has helped many children get better grades. We have also instituted several scholarships for deserving candidates. The Kone Trust from Finland are associated with us in this project. Sembakam, a center for women empowerment. Sembakam is a suburb located south of Chennai. The Rotary Club of Madras has over the years made a difference by conducting tailoring classes and more recently computer classes. Women from the neighborhood have gained valuable experience at the vocational training center and have found suitable employment. It is rewarding to note that some women have started their own small tailoring outfit, thus supplementing their family income. Boys Town at Gummadipundi and Selayur. We started 26 years ago, and today it is the answer to a single parent or parents from disadvantaged backgrounds' desire to give their children a quality education. Here we provide food, clothing, shelter and education for boys from the age of 10 and above. The boys are provided with vocational training in welding, plumbing, electrical repairs and in air conditioning and refrigerator maintenance. Some of the boys chose to pursue an engineering degree. Success stories abound. Alumni from our boys' town have established small manufacturing units. We have also undertaken many one-off projects, both big and small. The 3H project for rehabilitation. We received a grant of $500,000 from Rotary International for rehabilitation of people already afflicted with polio. The devastating tsunami hit Sulerikattukuppam near Mahabalipuram and totally destroyed it. We have rebuilt the lives of fishermen and their families by building 60 new homes, providing them with fishing boats and nets, and a cold storage plant to store their catch. This was done at a project cost of over rupees 6 crores. Periodic medical camps for less privileged sections of society, scholarships for deserving students, donation of medical equipment to hospitals, old age home at the VHS Center Taramani, midday meal scheme to nourish students from weaker sections of the community, Tannir Tannir, a project to renovate temple tanks and recharge groundwater, sanitation project. The Amarampedu village was declared open defecation free after we built close to 100 toilets and educated the people there in the use of the same. It is to our credit that our community service projects are often used to showcase the change Rotary can bring to society. Why Rotary and why the Rotary Club of Madras? Just one simple reason. Rotary International statistics reveal that worldwide 96% of the amounts received by the Rotary clubs flows directly into its projects and community service activity. In our case, it is a perfect score, 100%. We have obtained all government clearances. We have partnered with several companies in various initiatives on education, environment and health for commitment, transparency, ease of communication and a 100% return on your investment. The Rotary Club of Madras.
Ladies and gentlemen, this evening is made possible by the kind gesture of our sponsor, Julius Baer Wealth Advisors. Julius Baer is an international reference in wealth management with a solid Swiss heritage. We have with us Mr. Atul Singh, Managing Director, and CEO of Julius Baer India. Could I request him to please address the gathering?
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of Julius Baer, it's truly my pleasure to welcome you all this evening, which is promising to be an evening of scintillating conversation. I am truly, and my organization is truly proud to be associated with this evening today. Let me take a couple of minutes to introduce Julius Baer to you all. Julius Baer is a Swiss-based, Switzerland, Zurich-based firm, probably the largest pure-play private banking firm in the world, managing around $300 billion of assets around the world. And the reason it's called pure-play private banking is because this is a unique firm which actually excels in just serving high-net-worth clients and ultra-high-net-worth clients around the world, and does not do investment banking or commercial banking. And that actually helps the firm puts enormous amount of focus on changing needs of high-net-worth clients around the world. It has a strong legacy and history. In fact, this year we are celebrating 125th year of our existence. And it is known truly worldwide for its independent and objective advice, no matter what the product and where the product comes from. In India, we came into existence about 4 weeks ago through completing the acquisition of actually DSP Merrill Lynch's market-leading wealth management business, which was built over the last 15 years, has a pan-India coverage, including a strong presence in Chennai, and a very strong and tenured team, and over $6 billion of assets managed for resident Indians. So with that short introduction, let me not stand in the way of the conversation. Let the conversation start. And once again, thank you all for coming, and my gratitude to all of you.
Thank you, Atul. We'd like to thank you deeply for the sponsorship and making this evening happen. Now let's come to the star of our evening. He is one who bravely claimed that he never felt bad about losing to his peers on the Y2K and the ADM bandwagon. The core of his company, as always, remains technology. Shiv Nadar, a business tycoon and pioneer, is the chairperson and chief strategy officer at HCL Technologies, a global IT service company. He is the first Indian to establish computer systems in India. He founded HCL Technologies in mid-1970s and transformed the IT hardware company to an IT enterprise over the next 3 decades. In 1994, he established the Shiv Nadar Foundation that focuses primarily on creating iconic institutions of excellence in learning across education spectrum. Mr. Nadar, being a product of education himself, strongly supports the vision that education empowers individuals and is vital to reap our demographic dividend. The Shiv Nadar Foundation is making a conscious effort to create leaders who in turn will become the change agents of tomorrow. In 2008, Mr. Shiv Nadar was honored with the Padma Bhushan for his efforts in the IT industry. I request President Venkatramani to please escort Mr. Shiv Nadar onto the stage and welcome him with a bouquet. Thank you, President. Now, should I say he's the Karan of Coffee with Karan? Maybe not. But our moderator, Raju Venkatraman, is a man who wears many hats. Mr. Raju Venkatraman is an alumnus of IIT Madras and IIM Ahmedabad. He is a serial entrepreneur who has built several successful large companies in his career. His businesses include the likes of Vetri Systems Incorporation, Rev IT, and Sherpa Business Solutions. Currently, Mr. Raju is the MD and CEO of Medall Healthcare Private Limited, a company with a vision to deliver healthcare to over 10 million people pan-India. He also serves on the board of Polaris and ProAdapt Business Solutions. Raju has moderated many such events for organizations like the YPO and TIE, and today he will help us to get to know our speaker that much better. Could I request our Secretary, Rajshekhar Gorantala, to kindly escort Raju Venkatraman to the dais and welcome him with a bouquet. I shall not come in between you and these great gentlemen, so I now hand over the proceedings to Mr. Raju for a scintillating hour of conversation.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It's indeed my pleasure to have a conversation with one of the top 10 first-generation, extremely successful entrepreneur from India, and I should say from Tamil Nadu, a media-shy person, a true visionary. I had a glimpse of it. I'm meeting Dr. Shiv Nadar, right? I should call you Dr. Shiv Nadar. People say Mr. and truly someone who is a visionary. And you will get to see that. Hopefully in the next 45 minutes, we will try to bring out all of those. I have moderated several sessions. With humility, I'm going to tell you that I have not met a person like Dr. Shiv Nadar, and we hope that we can bring out everything that he has in such a short span. He is someone who can dream and dream really big. And he can connect the dots. He can run parallel tracks and bet on all the right horses at the right time. And I'm not exaggerating. He will demonstrate some of that today, hopefully. And he's also a movie buff and derives a lot of his inspiration from movies. And to him, impossible is nothing. Nothing is impossible. Everything is doable. And the way he plans is not the way you and I plan. And the way he sees things is not the way you and I see things every single day. So with that, sir, with your permission, first, thank you. Thank you for coming to Chennai. And it's been very difficult to get you to Chennai. And we love to have you here. You can see people are standing. And there are quite a few people still outside. I wanted to start with maybe your journey as an entrepreneur, if you will. A hardware company to a staffing company and then to one of the largest IT solutions company in the world. How did this all happen in your mind, and how did you keep the energy going and the passion and the competence that you built in your team, and how did you keep them motivated to get to where you are? And in the story, if you could, we will talk about some of the going public challenges, which I've heard from you a bit later, but if we could start with that, how it all started, and looking back, how do you feel?
I used to work for DCM. When I was working for DCM, those days, Tatas were the largest, or Birlas were the largest, mid-70s. DCM was the fourth largest, third used to be Mafatlal's. And I used to work for them. It was as good as working for the government. And in my family, people served, judiciary, which was a natural course. The fact that I was working for a private company itself was new, and that too in a faraway place. I found a friend with whom I struck a very good chord, Arjun Malhotra. And we used to sit down and complain constantly about the company for which we were working. And I'm sure that some of you in company executives would be doing the same thing. You get together, have a drink, and then the first thing to attack is your boss. So, and he was married, and that was the time I was dating my wife. We used to sit down and say that, don't you have anything else to do? Instead of sitting and cribbing, if you feel so strongly about it, why don't you step out and do something? I'm sure it's not so easy. And it was around that time when, this is where you have to have a judgment. There was transistor built, then there were ICs. Can you hear me? No. It's too far, otherwise, no. Yeah, it started working again. ICs had come. There was 2-bit microprocessors which had started coming in. 4-bit microprocessor had come in, and 8-bit microprocessor was going to come. So we said, now, maybe that with the 8-bit microprocessor, we could build a computer. It was a fairly crazy thought at the time. We thought, let's give it a shot. Just then, it at that time sounded atrocious. And we just went and set up HCL. And when we built and shipped the first computers in 1978, we announced it in 77, shipped in 78 March. March because, government orders had to be fulfilled by that time. So we were working backwards to it. Around that time, Apple, similar thoughts. If you see the year of founding of HCL, the two companies which founded at the same time went much further ahead. I feel I have not done enough justice to this. One was Microsoft, the other was Apple. And Apple was shipping boards, do-it-yourself computer stuff. But we were only beaming towards India. Those are the days when computer was a black box. And to us, India was a black box. You couldn't come into it, you can't go out of it. Okay? So we focused towards Indian marketplace and started off. That's how the whole shipped. And I remember at the time, Arjun, before we started HCL, we had to have we had to raise the money. So we sold calculators to raise the money. And within 3 months, we broke even. We were making good money. And our salaries, as we left DCM, we were making 5 times that money. Within 2 months, I said, no, this is not what we came out here for. We came here to build computers. And Arjun was there in an evening. He said, I don't know how you married him. He's a crazy guy. We are making good money, and he wants to go and lose it all. It's in the middle of it. It was all just fun, ages ago. It's 4 decades ago. And it just started off, and then the vision started shifting. The horizon started shifting, and then here we are.
Great. I will take you to maybe mid-90s when you exited from NIIT and successfully took your company public. And do you mind sharing some of the challenges in that time I want to bring out the iron nerve when somebody says it cannot be done. Dr. Shiv Nadar doesn't keep quiet till that it is completed, done and delivered. Now, there is a fascinating story for all of us to get inspired with.
Raja, I'm going to ask you for a favor. I'm unused to being called Dr. Shiv Nadar.
Okay, I'll change.
I feel as if there's somebody else is going to answer.
The idea was to get you a bit uncomfortable.
There I am.
If you come more often to Chennai, we'll call you Shiv.
That's how I'm normally called. So, actually, the company which brought a great deal of wealth to us was NIIT. NIIT had to be formed because there were not enough people who could write application code. So we thought that we'd form a company, and Pawar used to be the marketing manager. They were all from DCM. And said, you should go out and let's just set up a company. And normally I would have taken a smaller share, but even amongst founders, it was unsubscribed. So unfortunately, I had to subscribe it all. So I had a large shareholding. Progressively, it grew well. It listed in 1993 and became worth $1 billion in 97. It was worth $3 billion in 99. And that at the time, HCL side of the software business was very small. I had a view, as I'm saying this, I want to bring some parts of my character to you. Once, my English is very poor. I studied all in Tamil. Even engineering college in Coimbatore. In Coimbatore, even English is taught in Tamil. So, so I was, struggling. I asked my wife once, this word maverick came. I couldn't follow what the word maverick mean. So I asked her, what is a maverick? She said, you. You couldn't think of anyone else. So, when a ship is going at its maximum speed, you will want to turn it around in mid-sea, 180 degrees, in 2 seconds. You will just want to do it and do everything to do it, and somehow you will believe that it's possible. That is a maverick. So here I was. I believed technology services, our R&D, was not useful to us after our HP association was built. So I had very competent people. The hardware business was doing well. And I thought we could globalize this. So I had to test this idea. I was having a breakfast meeting with John Chambers in US, and I gave him a pitch. They say I'm a good sales guy. And I said that, you're having people come over here. They all, go between Nortel Networks, Cisco, and 3Com. Instead, why don't we take the work to India? That how do we, make this happen? That we will partition your work, take it to India, and then we'll execute it there. He said, but what happens to my IPs and how do we feel safe? At the time, we were in a collaborative effort, their joint venture with Hewlett-Packard. Hewlett-Packard is a very highly rated name, and I did not know at all that Lou Platt, who was chairman CEO of HP, was a very good, he was a mentor of John Chambers. I did not know. He asked him, he said, do you have any references here? I said, Lou Platt. Just can I call him? He said, sure. He called him. He said, if you're talking about integrity of an institution or values of an institution, HCL is as good as HP. The name of the company itself is HCL Hewlett-Packard. That's what we built. After getting this through to John and bringing up the first pieces of R&D to India, the proof which I wanted to establish was there. At the same time, exports as such were known only in application area, not in the R&D area. Picking it up, we started working. We had a strength of something like less than 1,000 people, 3-figure number. Okay. That is what were the beginnings of HCL Technologies. HCL Technologies now employs 108,000 people. We had less than 1,000 people working here. We thought we would now build it up larger, globalize it more, and let's list the company. Actually, that's the time I asked my wife, what is the meaning of Maverick? So we took it, and the timing couldn't have been worse. We made our first profits in 98, 99, $5 million. I somehow believed when we list, we will raise 800 crores, which meant market cap of roughly 2 billion. It was an audacious number. 98, 99, the total money raised in the public market was 800 crores. 500 crores when banks were selling to each other, and 300 crores raised in public. Initially, we thought that we would raise it in the US. The US capital market died. The Indian capital market was close to death. And here we were, we will list this for a value of 2 billion and raised 800 crores. And this is where, when I'll talk of a film. How many of you have seen a film called Field of Dreams? It's a great film to watch. There is not much difference between visualizing boldly and dreaming, pretty close to hallucination. Okay. It's like you smoke some pot and you're thinking of something to be done, which is not really realistic. But if you've seen the film, I believe in this. If you will something so strongly, want something so strongly, all the forces in the world will conspire to make you successful and make the event to happen. Somehow, I never thought it was not possible. We went through to list at the time, that too for 10% is all that we wanted to list, and raising 800 crores for it. It was, first 10% listing was not allowed. You could list 40% at least. I didn't want to dilute so much. So we went and had to carry the chairman of SEBI, D.R. Mehta at that time, who somehow got convinced in what we wanted to do was correct. He had to call in, and I already had a date in mind in this whole process. Okay. We had to change how all the stock exchanges functioned to allow this shareholding. They all went at specific times. We had to create an order book, do this, and all the formalities of raising money, getting the company ready for it, and then take a listing, if I were to tell you what P ratios that we were attempting was 45. Okay. Now, you know that this is nothing but daydreaming, actually. Finally, the company listed for 800 crores that we wanted to raise. The total subscription was 22,000 crores. Okay. And we listed at a market capitalization of $5 billion on 11th of January in 2000. They'll give you some scope of relentlessly getting at it and putting a timeline on this, and then dividing the work really as how do you eat an elephant, one piece at a time.
Amazing. Thank you for sharing that.
But I was plain lucky, the way market changed.
All the great successful people say that they are lucky, but when we hear the story, we can see the intensity, the focus that you must have brought, and that sheer willpower. And that
No, I had a great team. I have a great team. And, finally, somebody's name and face is put on that. I was just lucky to be there.
I'll switch gears a little bit, and you talked a little bit about your movies. I guess Field of Dreams inspired you. Is there any other movie that you would recommend we all see so that we can get we can get to see at least some fraction of what you did?
I would recommend one. Black Stallion.
I've seen that.
You've seen that?
Yes.
It's an amazing thing. This is about a boy who gets shipwrecked with a horse in an island, and there is nothing else, and he's alone. And initially he cries a bit, and then gets to do this, and finds a friendship with a horse, which becomes a great ally. So that's about friendship, it's about alliance, and doing this, at it, and finally they become great friends and great allies and wins the biggest race. I strongly suggest you should watch this film with your family.
Shiv, if I may call you that, quickly, you are intense, you are a visionary, all of that has come out. Your journey to become who you are wouldn't have been always a bed of roses that we can pick up. But in this, I'm sure there were some really fun and adventurous moments coming from a small town, going to meet John Chambers and doing deals. Are there anything that some of these, do you miss it now that the organization has become so big? Or do you still get to do some of these crazy things the way you always did, if I may?
Actually, I'm doing one, which is when I came last time, which I announced. In southern Tamil Nadu, how do we bring about the next generation of software companies of the world? I do believe it's doable in places like Tirunelveli and Madurai and Trichy from people directly. We are going to redefine what would be the way people will be recruited to work there, trained to work there, exactly the same way it happened 40 years ago. Okay. And there are a bunch of people who are doing that. And, putting this together takes many meetings, because you're discovering yourself. Okay? And many times when you're in the discovery process, the first step to the second step takes enormous amount of time. And you do this bit by bit by bit. And you are groping in the dark, putting all the dots, and suddenly, I believe in this very strongly. You should be able to pick the signals right. And you should be in a position to drop the signals as well. What is signal and what is noise, you should be able to do. Your call could be wrong, okay? But you pick that up, amplify that afterwards, and then that becomes a song. So,
thank you, that is well said. The little bit on your philanthropic side, if I may, you are a role model to all of us in many dimensions. You may not know that. You have inspired lots of us here. The project that you are trying to do in UP and the way you have planned it with your daughter, and can you share a little bit of the big, hairy, audacious goal? That's Shiv. Everything he does is big, audacious, and never fail attitude.
The person who brought me out into philanthropy, or between two people. One is my mother, because of which SSN exists today. And she gave me a start. And very beautifully she did. When I was sitting with the proceeds of the shares which we sold to HP, I was working on the newer business plans and said, what can we do further? And that at the time she said, are you going to only keep doing business or, set aside some money to do something for the people? And I said, I will take retirement and after that I'll do that. He said, you're never going to retire. So then you're never going to do this. So get started now. Started, but didn't carry it much further. Then when my daughter, when she was doing a business school at Kellogg, she came up with this thought that, will you be disappointed if I don't succeed you as a CEO? I said, no, I want you to be happy. Succession as a CEO is not what I want you to be. But you must understand, there is a serious amount of wealth which has been generated, and managing that wealth is something that you should learn to do. And then, at a governance level, you should come into the boards and do what you want to do. She said, but that won't take all my time. Can we think of something we can do together? That was a huge advantage for me. That means the area in which I was going to do, I again had another opportunity to discover and build. So I need not be worried of what I will have to do for the next 1-year plan or 3-year plan, but can plan 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, because she's 34 this year. When we were talking about this, she was 28. She wasn't married. So then we started building what we could potentially do. And some of the projects are truly, if HCL couldn't have been an audacious thing, these are really huge goals, real audacity. How do we take a state like UP? UP is where HCL was formed, and it's where HCL was built. And that's where the most difficult tasks of changes was lying ahead of us. So some of the projects that we have undertaken is how do we bring up a leadership academy from the rural poor of UP. So we had to define this. I have a great friend, TSR Subramanian. He was chief secretary before. He was cabinet secretary. Then he was on the board of our company. He was on the board of our company for a very long time. And he helped. He was my ally in this process. And then the UP government came along because they pretty much leave us alone. And if we went and sought their assistance in doing this, they were happy to give that because the dream looked so distant, it carried the bureaucracy fully. Ramachandran is sitting here. I believe that IAS has some of the finest people this country has. And they came supporting this venture, and the person who was going to be CEO was my daughter. Now, this is a clear 15-year, 20-year kind of a vision. Today, I don't know whether I'm known in every village in Tamil Nadu. I'm not, probably. Most likely not. I have no business being known. But in UP, I'm known. Because selection of these students is an extensive process. It's a reach which has never been done. We search through at every year, we start at the age of 10, okay? And 3.5 million children turn 10 in the eligible group in UP.
Wow.
Out of that, we searched through, and this year, we selected 200. So, you know, unquestionably, these are the finest future leaders of the country. Afterwards, they are put into a walled place, which is in a village, where the finest education this country can offer is given to them. And it's all free. All that we are doing is we are trying to project future leadership. And when the UP Chief Minister is the only politician that we had ever invited besides our former President Kalam, when he came up and saw what was being delivered, he said, I wish someone had done this earlier.